Welcome back to the Dynasty Citadel. Today I am doing something different, going into player profiles. I'm going to start off with, obviously, as we see here on the screen, Marvin Harrison Jr. I have some notes, I have some things that I've created, so just wanted to, and then right now we're looking at PFF, so you'll be able to see that, but kind of wanted to go into Marvin Harrison, take a little bit of a deeper dive into it, and just uncover his rookie season and then take it from there. But as we know, Marvin Harrison entered the draft, 2024 draft. He was touted as generational, I will say that. Maserati Marv, known for smooth play at Ohio State, son of a Hall of Famer, and then he got selected fourth by the Arizona Cardinals. Now, his rookie season, would say is short of generational, to be honest with you. He put in 17 games, 62 receptions, had 116 targets, 885 yards, 8 touchdowns. Now, when you start talking about rookie thresholds, he met that, which, is good. But when you start looking at the analytics, you start wondering is he going to live up to the hype? Are there potential concerns? So what we're going to do today, we're going to dissect his rookie campaign and take it from there. First thing, his alpha role. All right, now his usage and his opportunity. These are key factors when you're talking about just anybody as far as fantasy player, expected fantasy points. Now, with Marvin Harrison, we're looking at his opportunities. Now, his ADOT, average depth of target, was pretty good if I remember right. I want to say it was anywhere from like 13 to 14 yards. But when you're looking at his games, so he played 865 offensive snaps, 79% of snap share, which is pretty good, especially for a rookie. And this was different sources, but he ran anywhere from, let's just say about 530 to 540 routes. And so that was ranking towards the top end, not necessarily top tier, because let's just say he was between 25, 30-ish range. But that is the expectation of a top 5 pick. You're going to be on the field a good majority of the time. Now, his air yards, which was really good actually, anywhere from 1,500 yards to a little over 1,500 yards from what we're tracking. And that would have put him in conversation of a top 6 to 7 wide receiver. And so when you're looking at the total, when I'm looking at his total team air yards, it was between 42 to 43%. And again, that would put him in just the leading categories. Now, his targets, they were good, but it wasn't dominant. He had 100, let's just say 115 targets. I think it was 114, but let's just give it 115. And now his target share was 21. We're tracking basically about 22% of the target share, which is about 37 out of all the wide receivers, 37th out of all the wide receivers. That's alpha wide receiver. That's a little bit lower than what we're expecting. And then his targets per route run was in the 50 range. Again, when you start looking at your alpha receivers, your top targets, that's a little bit lower. And so that's what we're tracking for Marv. And now the reason behind this is you have somebody called Trey McBride. And Trey McBride is Kyler's top target. And so Trey had almost a 30% target share, 28.6. And it led all tight ends, which I did not know. And now, Drew Petzing's offense was 12th in points, 11th in yards. Wasn't majorly pass heavy, which makes sense. James Conner, and then Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray come back from an injury, what I didn't realize. He had a 93.5 passer rating, 68, basically 69% completion percentage, which, is not necessarily the end-all, be-all, but he was a little bit better than what I thought. And I believe, if I remember right, he was quarterback 10 on the season. So when you start looking at Marvin Harrison, you start looking at his profile, especially when you start comparing it to players in his draft class, and then you start looking at just historically. When looking at Malik Neighbors, I look at his target share. It was at 30.8. His air yards was 41. So Marvin Harrison is in the top percentage of air yards, but you start looking at his total, his targets per route run. Malik Neighbors is at 29%. Brian Thomas' target share is about 24%. His targets per route run about 24% there. Ladd McConkey target share is actually similar to Marvin Harrison's, but his targets per route run is higher. And now Marvin, his air yards is higher than everybody that I'm just looking on my list. Even Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase. His air yards are higher. The thing is, his target share seems it's a little bit lower. And now the thing is, like even somebody like Jamar Chase, from what I'm looking at right here, Jamar Chase was at 23.7, which is not necessarily too much lower than what Marvin Harrison, too much higher, than what Marvin Harrison was at. So Marvin Harrison still has a shot. Now, when we start looking at some concerns, his yards per route run were definitely lower than what we're used to. In college, it was at 3.3. Nobody expected that. But we did expect to be over 2, especially when you start talking about generational guy. He was at 1.6. And that's definitely a lot lower. That was lower than Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and Ladd McConkey. And then you start looking at his yards per target, which was 7.6. That's ranked actually on Player Profiler when I was looking at it. It was ranked 73rd. His catch rate, 53%. I think it was out of 62 or 63 catches out of 116. Though it's definitely lower. Now, we did notice it wasn't all Marv's fault, because there were some chemistry issues between him and Kyler Murray that were kind of obvious on the field. Kyler sometimes not even looking his way. I believe Kyler made a comment early in the season saying that it's not his job. It's not his job to drop the plays for Marvin or something to that effect. And basically that can't happen. And I'm just gonna show another screen just because I know how to do it. Oh man, I messed up. Haha, there we go. But the target rate between the two, if I haven't already mentioned it, was 67%, which was in the mid 60s when you talk about qualifying receivers. So their chemistry has to get better. The target, basically his passer rating, Kyler's passer rating when targeting Marv was 87, and his for the season was 93. So basically that means anytime he was trying to get Marv the ball, it was honestly a bad pass for Kyler. His drop rate on different sites, so like PFF, and I wish I just had up, they only credited Marv for 1 drop. I go to Pro Football Reference, they had him at 5 drops. Player Profiler had him at 3 drops. So I don't know. So his hands are decent, I would say, because I know somebody like Malik Neighbors definitely had more drops than Marv, but he also caught a lot more passes than Marv did too. So that's the other thing. Now Marv's main concern, in my opinion, is the separation issues. Now his contested catches weren't good this year either, but I believe that should come back. But he was near the bottom of the league. I want to say it was, let's see, his, I guess I didn't have that, but DexGen actually noted that he ranked near the bottom of the league in average separations on per yards, average separation yards rather. So that could be an issue with him and Kyler. His contested catch rate in college, well, I guess it's back in college, but it was near the 50s, 60s. And last year it was 28%, according to Player Profiler. And that was on 35 targets, and which ranked probably near the bottom of receivers at 85, which is terrible. So if he actually gets that up, that could change a lot of things for Marv, but he does need to be able to separate and win, because you can't have both of those, and that's going to be terrible. His yards after catch per reception, which was a weakness coming into one of the weaknesses coming into the league for Marv is still the same. Now, if his ADOT is going to be 13 to 14 yards per attempt, that might be, some of the concerns. Some of those concerns could be alleviated just because a lot of those deep plays and things of that nature, you're not going to get a lot of yards after yards after catch rather, just because of the type of plays. But depending on how they scheme him, 2.4 yards after the catch is not good. We know that. But he's not a Malik Neighbors type of guy. And that was what Malik Neighbors was known for, and you could definitely tell that. But Brian Daboll schemed him up a little bit different. If we look at, and before I move on, because I'm going to show the infographic that I had made, but according to Player Profiler, Marvin actually should have scored 15.8 fantasy points a game. He actually produced 11.6. So basically saying he had opportunities. That's what it basically was showing, but he didn't really produce. Now, he has his strengths and weaknesses, clearly, which I'm about to show here in a second. Hey, there we go. Kind of made that. Hopefully everybody can see it. I might need to let me see if I can make it. There we go. Everybody should be able to see that. Okay. So, we have Marv here. If we're looking at some of his strengths, him being the X receiver, definitely. Played about 79% of the snaps. Air yards share, ADOT. Great. We know that. Target share, okay. His touchdowns with 8 is good, really good for a rookie. I will say that. Let's see. One stat I had, he had 4 red zone touchdowns. If I see this right, he's durable, potentially good hands, depending on if he had 1 drop or if he had 5 drops, which is a big difference. Now, some of his weaknesses, clearly the yards per route run, yards per target. Those are ranking bottom in the league. Separation, we know. Next Gen said he struggled. Contested catch was, like I have here, abysmal. So that will have to get better. Yards after catch, I'm not sure how much better that can actually get, depending on the ADOT. Well, I guess it could be better, but that is bad. 2.4 is terrible, actually. And then his target per route run is bad as well. So he does have things to work on. The thing is, the way he's being used right now, it's like an AJ Green or a Mike Evans role. But there might be a better way to suit his skill set if they put him in the slot a little bit more. If they could, they just need to move him around in the offense a little bit more. But the thing is, you just got to see if Marv can develop into that type of receiver, if he can be, because it's tough to see if he could be like, because right now you can't see a Jamar Chase, you don't see a CeeDee Lamb type receiver. I can see a T. Higgins type of receiver. But T. Higgins, I feel like, is just more fluid than Marv. Marv is a little bit more stiff than anything. So I have this rookie profile up here. We'll stop here because just putting it in comparison, okay, to the rookie class. We have Malik Neighbors put up 1,200 yards. Brian Thomas put up 1,200 yards. McConkey put up almost 1,150. And then Marv put up 885. And I think that's what hurts, because Marv was the generational guy. Malik Neighbors was not a tier. A lot of people, some people had Malik Neighbors in the same tier, but a lot of people were like, Marv should be the number 1 receiver. And then for him to basically get outshined by somebody like Brian Thomas and Ladd McConkey was basically not a good look. He had 8 touchdowns, which is just comparable. Neighbors had 7, Thomas 10, McConkey 7. Good. But then he had a lower PFF grade, not by much, to be honest with you. Neighbors at the highest, 86.7. Thomas, 82. McConkey, 80. 85. 80.5. And Harrison's at 77.7. But when you think about it, it's still, for a rookie, you got to think of it. The thing is, for a rookie, it's good. For a generational prospect, that's the issue. So when you start looking at thresholds, he meets the thresholds, which I was looking, I guess it's 50 scrimmage yards per game. Didn't realize Rome didn't meet that. Didn't realize Xavier Worthy didn't meet that. I need to actually look to see, because I doubt Jackson Smith and Jigba met it either. So I need to actually look at that. But when you start looking at historical context, let's go. His yardage, it doesn't meet Jamar Chase's. Jamar had 14.55. Garrett Wilson had 11.03. Amari Cooper had 10.70. AJ Green 10.57. Mike Evans 10.51. Jaden Waddle 10.15. Sammy Watkins 9.82. I guess we're getting closer now. Julio Jones 9.59. Devontae Smith 9.16. Drake London 8.66. Actually, it's closer to Drake London. But I am noting, the data is trying to say is Justin Blackmon had 865, which, okay, I don't think he's Justin Blackmon at all. It also notes some other disappointments. Looking at people like Tavon Austin, Corey Davis, I'm like, okay, but they're not in this. To me, they're not in the same tier. His touchdowns are similar to Julio Jones, Anquan Bolden, Cooper, AJ Green. So he's similar to those guys, but still trails somebody like Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, people like that. Okay, let me look here. Okay, if we look at Marvin Harrison, I'll say I because I'm not showing anything on the screen right now. But if I look at Marvin Harrison compared to just the top tier guys and what he was supposed to be, like Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua now, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown. He's close. Is he closer to Garrett Wilson right now? Because I'm just looking at rookie seasons. Garrett Wilson had a PFF grade of 76.6, similar to Marvin's 77.7. But Garrett Wilson's yards per route run was 184, still higher than Marvin Harrison. Garrett Wilson's target share was higher. AJ Brown actually had the lowest target share at 19.1 and still had 1,051 yards. But his yards per route run was higher. Everybody that's considered a top tier receiver, because Garrett Wilson's still trying to get into that echelon, in my opinion. But everybody else, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, their rookie season, there was over 2 yards per route run. Every single one. I'm trying to see if. Oh, I don't have. I do have a few other people. Oh, actually. Okay. Actually, I'm wrong on that part. Okay, because Mike Evans was 191. Yeah, Mike Evans actually had a 75.9 PFF grade. I'm not even sure how that came up. Okay. AJ Green had 195 yards per route run, but his PFF grade was higher. So is he tracking similarly to Mike Evans? Which Mike Evans is going to be a Hall of Famer, but I wouldn't consider Mike Evans generational at all. So I wonder how they got his rookie year PF. I wonder how he got his. That's interesting. Okay. So when we're looking at yards per route run, yards per target, those are poor. Okay, cool. We know that. His target share is good. It's just not dominant because we have Trey McBride. Could that change? I don't know, because Kyler's safety blanket is Trey McBride. A lot of rushing quarterbacks, in my opinion, they like to have a good tight end just because they can have somebody they can throw to just in case things go wrong when they start rushing the ball. Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, things like that. So I wonder if it'll make Anthony Richardson better. Anthony Richardson got to be able to pass the ball. That's his problem. He got to be able to actually complete a pass. Okay, so if we're looking at his dynasty outlook, all right. So elite pedigree, draft capital, great. High value role in his air yards and his ADOT. We know that. He can score touchdowns, good, and he's durable, great. Concerns we have: low yards per out run, yards per target, expected fantasy points basically was in a negative, can't separate, and if you can't separate, you have to be a good contested catcher at least, and that was at 28%. Now he's just a rookie. Okay, so that's what it was. But you have all these other guys who was actually pretty good. His yards after catch is terrible. Okay, his target share is going to be capped right now because of Trey McBride. Then you have somebody. So if we look at his dynasty, I think he's better than. Right now, he's a wide receiver 2, but I think he still has the upside to be better than that. He just has he got to learn how to separate, or he's going to have to just be better in contested catch it. So Kyler can just throw in jump balls. Yeah. I've seen people sell high on him, or sell him. I don't know if I necessarily do that because I think there could be a year 2 improvement, especially if he's ranking in the bottom of the league as far as just Kyler Murray and him and catchable targets or passes rather. I think there's an opportunity there that Marvin Harrison could be a lot better going into year 2. So I think just hold him. He was touted as generational for a reason. Give it another year. It's year 2. Devontae Adams wasn't generational, and he didn't really pop to the end of year 2, really year 3. So a lot of receivers. Now the thing is now we want all our receivers to be great year 1 because we have a Malik Neighbors, we have a Jamar Chase, we have a Brian Thomas Jr., even Lad McConkey, a Puka Nacua that comes out and dominates. So it makes us want to have those guys that, hey, we need you to produce immediately. But you might have a Jackson Smith and Jigba, who now Marvin Harrison definitely wasn't in the same situation. But it took JSN a second. And then now he's definitely the number 1 receiver in Seattle. And I'm sure there's other receivers. Even somebody like Julio. Julio, I didn't realize had 1,000 yards. Oh, he did. Well, I guess he didn't have 1,000. Yeah, he fell right under 1,000. Just because we had Roddy White. So that's the honestly, just give it time, and you can just the talent is there. Marv just has to catch the ball at the end of the day. He's just going to have to catch the ball, and Kyler's just going to have to find them. Their chemistry get better. I think if their chemistry gets better, because the 53% catch rate, if you can get that up to 60, 70, I feel like is asking for a lot. But if you can get it up to those numbers, that just get him up to 80 catches, especially with the ADOT. Yeah, I'm like, if you get him up to 80 catches with that ADOT, like, he booms. Or if we can get him, let's get like Marv a lot more easier targets. I think that might change some things. But that's my little synopsis on Marv. This is the infographic. I like it. It's pretty cool. I gotta work on possibly getting it better, but I like it for right now, to be honest with you. Tell me what you think. If you like the style of video, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. But yeah, I think I'm gonna take this route, and then I might just live stream just a few days out the week. But that's the video for now. Thank you.